You won't believe your eyes when you see what this camera caught in Ohio. The United States is famous for many things, but it's full of surprises beyond common internet stereotypes. From a skull found in a thrift store to an 80-foot-long mysterious object discovered on a beach, here are 20 shocking recent discoveries in the United States. Number 20. Thrift store skull. You really have to be careful about what you pick up in a thrift shop. Sometimes you get good deals, but there are times when you discover the most unusual things, like, say for instance, a human skull. That's exactly what an anthropologist discovered while browsing through the Halloween section of the antique store Paradise Vintage Market in Fort Myers, Florida, in 2023. Due to her practice, she knew that the skull she was looking at was nothing ordinary. Rather than a mere decoration, it turned out to be a real human skull. Needless to say, authorities were immediately contacted. The Lee County Sheriff's Office was called in, and preliminary tests confirmed the skull was human, estimated to be around 75 years old. According to Lee County Sheriff's Office Captain Anita Ard, the skull had no signs of trauma and was not preserved through suspicious means, which ruled out foul play. So then, how did the skull end up in the thrift store? According to the store owner, Beth Meyer, the skull was part of a storage unit bought in 2022. She was as surprised as everyone else by the discovery and cooperated fully with the authorities. The anthropologist who found the skull suggested it might be Native American, prompting the possibility of returning it to a local tribe if this is confirmed. So, if you spot a skull decoration, you might want to double-check if it really is fake. Number 19. Golden egg. On August 30th, 2023, researchers of the Seascape Alaska 5 expedition, launched by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, spotted something that immediately caught their eye on the ocean floor: a golden orb. This orb was found lying 2 miles beneath the ocean surface and measured about 4 inches in diameter. The NOAA team used a remotely operated vehicle to explore the depths, and during one of their dives, they encountered this shiny dome-shaped object that left them perplexed. Initially, researchers thought that the golden orb was a dead sponge attached to a piece of coral, but it seemed like this gold orb wasn't a simple specimen. Researchers thought that this golden orb could also be an egg casing, and they thought that the classification of this golden orb would finally be clear after obtaining it and analyzing it in the laboratory. But this wasn't the case. Despite the thorough examination on the ship, scientists couldn't definitively identify the orb. All researchers could conclude was that the mysterious golden orb is biological in origin, which means it came from a living thing. Which living thing, however, is the big question. Again, it can range from a shark or ray egg to a sea cucumber to an unidentified species. We're yet to learn the truth. Number 18. Mastadon Tooth. Julian Gagnon, a 6-year-old boy from Michigan, made an extraordinary discovery while hiking with his family at the Dinosaur Hill Nature Preserve in Rochester Hills. During their walk, Julian felt something underfoot in a creek and picked up what he initially thought was a dragon's tooth. The tooth might not have been from a mythical animal, but its real owner is just as astounding. Julian's family initially thought that the boy found a dinosaur tooth, but after some research and reaching out to experts at the University of Michigan Museum of Paleontology, it was confirmed that Julian had found a mastodon tooth, specifically the upper right molar of a juvenile mastodon, creatures that lived over 10,000 years ago. Mastodons were large elephant-like creatures that roamed North America until they went extinct about 10,000 years ago. Julian's find is particularly rare and valuable for researchers studying these ancient animals. The tooth itself is about the size of a fist, with distinctive bumps on the crown, which helped paleontologists identify it as belonging to a mastodon. The University of Michigan Museum of Paleontology was thrilled with the discovery. They invited Julian for a behind-the-scenes tour in exchange for donating the tooth to the museum. This incredible find has sparked Julian's interest in paleontology, and he now dreams of pursuing it as a career. Well, that's one touching discovery. Number 17. The Beast of Bray Road. A bizarre story has been plaguing Wisconsin for decades: the Beast of Bray Road. The story of this beast dates back to 1936 when the first reported sighting occurred. Witnesses described the beast as a large, hairy humanoid creature standing between 6 and 7 feet tall, covered in fur, with a head resembling a wolf or a large dog. It's often reported to have glowing red or orange eyes and long, sharp claws. Unlike typical wildlife, this creature is said to move on 2 legs and all 4s. Many believed that this entity would simply fade away, and yet sightings surged in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Instead of being forgotten, stories about this beast became more known. One of the sightings was reported by Lorraine Indrizzi in 1989. She claimed that while driving home late at night, she saw a beast kneeling by the roadside, holding what seemed to be roadkill in its claws. The creature reportedly turned and stared at her, an encounter that left her deeply shaken. She quickly drove away from the creature and never saw it again. Another significant encounter occurred on Halloween night in 1991. Doris Gibson claimed she hit something with her car, and upon inspecting the damage, was chased back to her vehicle by the beast. She described it as larger than a human and capable of running unnaturally fast. But of course, there's a reason why this beast is still considered a cryptid. No definitive proof of its existence has been discovered, and for some, this alleged beast is nothing but a misidentified animal. For those who have seen it, however, it's a real beast that may or may not still be prowling on the rural roads of Wisconsin. Number 16. Largest python in Florida. In 2022, the largest Burmese python ever in Florida was discovered in the Everglades by researchers. This colossal snake, a female, measured nearly 18 feet long and weighed an astounding 215 pounds. This behemoth of a snake was discovered by a team from the Conservancy of Southwest Florida using a unique tracking method involving scout snakes. The team implanted GPS trackers into male pythons, who then led researchers to the larger, often egg-laden females. This method proved successful when a 12-foot-long scout snake named Dionysus led the team to a massive female. After an intense struggle, the team managed to secure the python and transport her for further study. Normally, wildlife animals are captured, tagged, and then released once again, but it's different for Burmese pythons. You see, these creatures aren't even supposed to be in Florida to begin with. These creatures are native to Southeast Asia and were likely introduced to the wilderness of Florida due to irresponsible pet owners releasing them into the wild. As a result, their numbers in the state are uncontrollable today, affecting local wildlife. It's believed that these creatures are responsible for the decline of the local mammal population in the area. What's more chilling is that a larger python just might still be lurking in Florida today. Number 15. Mammoth. James Bristol was simply installing a drainage system on his property near Chelsea, Michigan, when he stumbled upon something massive while digging. He thought he had struck a cow bone. When he dug further, however, he realized that he had discovered something else. Realizing it was something far more significant, he contacted the University of Michigan for help. A team of paleontologists led by Daniel Fisher quickly organized an excavation, which had to be completed in just one day due to the busy farming season. The team uncovered about 20% of the mammoth's bones, including the skull, 2 tusks, multiple vertebrae, ribs, the pelvis, and both shoulder blades. Researchers estimate that the animal might have lived between 11,700 and 15,000 years ago, and was likely an adult male in his mid-40s, weighing around 9 tons. Researchers also noticed that the mammoth's bones had cut marks on them, suggesting that in the past, ancient humans somehow took down this mammoth and made him their meal. Number 14. Mysterious hole. Now let's head over to Washington State. This hole is one of the biggest mysteries of the state. The story began when a man named Mel Waters called into a popular late-night radio show. Waters came to the show hoping to share the story of a seemingly bottomless pit he found on his property near Ellensburg, Washington. According to Waters, the hole was about 9 feet in diameter and lined with hand-placed bricks extending about 15 feet down. He claimed that he had used a fishing line to measure the depth of the hole and found it to be at least 80,000 feet deep. Now, just for comparison, the deepest man-made hole has a depth of 40,230 feet. If Mel's hole were real, it would be an unprecedented hole piercing toward the core of our planet. Waters also claimed that despite its depth, the hole never produced an echo. That's not the only thing that's bizarre about the hole. Local residents reportedly used the hole to dispose of trash, yet it never filled up, and animals avoided it at all costs. In one of the more bizarre claims, Waters recounted that a neighbor had thrown their lifeless dog into the hole, and later Waters saw that very same dog alive. Many have become intrigued with Waters' stories, and yet nothing about his claims has ever been confirmed, including the hole's existence. Number 13. 80-foot-long object. In 2022, several beachgoers in Florida were befuddled upon seeing a mysterious object sticking out of the sand. The said object measured a staggering 80 feet long, and none of the locals had any idea as to what it was. Luckily, maritime archaeologists stepped in. After examining the 80-foot-long object, archaeologists concluded that it was likely a shipwreck from the 19th century that had been long buried beneath the Florida beach. The experts believe it might have been a cargo vessel that navigated near the Florida coast, possibly even crossing the Atlantic. What's astounding is the fact that if it weren't for the erosion exacerbated by the past 2 hurricanes, the shipwreck would have remained hidden for decades or more. For now, the archaeological team plans to document and preserve the wreck as it lies. Moving it would be costly and could damage the structure, so it will remain protected by the sand and sea. Number 12. Preserved dog. This is Stucky, one of the most infamous dogs from Georgia. Stucky, as he was affectionately named, is a mummified dog discovered by loggers in Georgia inside a chestnut oak tree. It's safe to say that they were all terrified when they saw the animal stuck inside the hollow tree trunk. Locals speculated that Stucky chased a small animal, likely a raccoon or squirrel, into the hollow tree sometime in the 1960s. The dog climbed higher inside the tree until it became stuck, unable to turn around to escape. Perhaps his owner never noticed where he ran off to, which ended in this grim scenario. Now, usually, the animal's corpse would have simply decomposed normally. It just so happened that the tree where Stucky got stuck contained tannins, natural preservatives often used in tanning animal hides. These tannins helped prevent the dog from decaying. Additionally, the tree's hollow structure created a chimney effect, allowing air to flow upwards and carry the scent of the dead animal, which would have otherwise attracted insects and scavengers. This airflow also kept the inside of the tree dry, contributing further to the mummification process. In short, Stucky was accidentally mummified inside the tree. Today, Stucky is on display at the Southern Forest World Museum in Waycross, Georgia, where visitors can see this unique natural mummy up close. Number 11. Two-Headed Snake. In October 2020, a family in Florida received an unexpected gift from their house cat named Olive, a snake. Not just any snake, but one with two heads. Yes, you heard that right. The snake, a juvenile southern black racer, was brought into the family's home by Olive, who dropped it on the living room floor. The Rogers family, initially shocked by the unusual find, named the snake Dos, which means two in Spanish. Dos has a condition known as bicephaly, where an embryo starts to split into identical twins but fails to completely separate, resulting in two heads on one body. Each head operates independently, with its own brain, eyes, and tongue, which makes coordination difficult, especially when trying to eat or escape predators. Essentially, it's like having two brains controlling a single body. There have been several cases in humans, and it's just as challenging for animals, if not more. And so, given the challenge that bicephalic animals face in the wild, such as difficulties in feeding and avoiding danger, Dos was taken in by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission to ensure that Dos would survive and hopefully live out its expected lifespan. Number 10. Cicada Invasion. If you live in the Midwest and Southeast regions of the United States, like Illinois, Indiana, Georgia, and Alabama, you must have already experienced the cicada invasion. That's exaggerated, but earlier this year the United States experienced an extraordinary event, a rare double brood phenomenon that resulted in billions of cicadas emerging. Now, we usually divide cicadas by broods. This year, brood 13 and brood 19, which have 17-year and 13-year life cycles respectively, have emerged together. The last time this occurred was back in 1803. Cicadas are known for their loud mating calls, which can reach up to 100 dB. These calls are part of a month-long mating ritual during which the insects will mate, lay eggs, and then die, leaving behind their carcasses. Now that's definitely a pretty unsettling thing to witness. What's more, these insects can be complete nuisances if they decide to settle near your house. But aside from the loud noise and their intimidating numbers, cicadas are harmless to humans. Number 9. Lithium Reserve. Recently, scientists have discovered something astonishing beneath Pennsylvania, a lithium reserve. Lithium is a relatively rare element. Despite its scarcity, it's used as the major ingredient in the rechargeable batteries found in your phone, hybrid cars, electric bikes, and anything with batteries. With that being said, its source is important. That's why experts were pleasantly surprised when they found out that wastewater from hydraulic fracturing in the Marcellus Shale contains vast quantities of this scarce element. This reservoir could potentially supply up to 40% of the United States lithium demand. The lithium was found in the wastewater produced by fracking, a process that injects high-pressure fluid into subterranean rocks to extract natural gas. Typically, this wastewater is considered a disposal issue, but researchers at the National Energy Technology Laboratory discovered it contains substantial amounts of lithium, turning a waste product into a valuable resource. Lab tests indicate that lithium could be extracted from this wastewater with up to 90% efficiency. Currently, the U.S. relies heavily on lithium imports, primarily from Australia, Chile, and China. The discovery in Pennsylvania could reduce this dependency and support domestic production goals set by the U.S. Department of Energy. Unfortunately, with environmental risks, extracting this lithium might not be done until a better method is discovered. Number 8. Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalkers. Perhaps you're already familiar with these entities. It's likely that many of you are also already familiar with the mystery surrounding the Skinwalker Ranch. Located in Uintah County in Utah, this place continues to be one of the most talked about paranormal and supernatural hotspots in all of the United States. Even the Ute and Navajo tribes have long considered the area as cursed. They believe that skinwalkers inhabit the land. In Navajo legend, skinwalkers are shape-shifting witches that sometimes take the form of an animal but still eerily move how a human would. To this day, however, the area retains its infamy. In fact, in the 1990s, billionaire Robert Bigelow purchased the property mainly to conduct a series of secretive studies funded by the Pentagon. This initiative aimed to understand and potentially harness the mysterious forces at play. Bigelow's research uncovered numerous anomalies, but many findings remain classified. Today, Skinwalker Ranch is owned by real estate magnate Brandon Fugal, who has continued the quest to uncover its secrets. Several documentaries and shows have been made about this mysterious place, and yet the mystery behind this place still persists. The ranch's environment seems to resist easy explanations. Scientists have recorded high levels of radiation, unusual electromagnetic fields, and even physical effects on humans, such as unexplainable illnesses and injuries. Despite these findings, many questions remain unanswered. Number 7. Gigantic fish. On June 3, 2024, a massive and rare hoodwinker sunfish, measuring 7.3 feet long, washed ashore on Gearhart Beach in Oregon. Needless to say, the giant fish lying on the shore easily caught the attention of both locals and researchers. The hoodwinker sunfish is a creature previously believed to inhabit only the temperate waters of the southern hemisphere. With this sighting in Oregon, it's possible that these creatures might travel farther than we initially believed. You see, unlike other sunfish species, the hoodwinker sunfish has only been described as a distinct species in 2017 by marine biologist Marian Nygaard, who named it for its ability to remain undetected for so long. Unlike the more common ocean sunfish, the hoodwinker has smoother skin and distinctive morphological features. This particular sunfish found in Oregon is one of the largest specimens ever recorded. In fact, it just might be the largest among its species. Number 6. Fish with human-like teeth. What's more fascinating than a fish that's taller than an adult? A fish with human teeth. Sounds horrifying, right? That's exactly what 11-year-old Charlie Clinton caught while fishing in a neighborhood pond in Oklahoma in July 2023. The unusual catch turned out to be a pacu, a South American fish closely related to the piranha. Unlike their razor-toothed cousins, pacus have flat molar-like teeth that bear an uncanny resemblance to human teeth. Now, this fish species has no business being in Oklahoma. After all, pacus are native to the Amazon River basin. However, in recent years, this specimen has become popular in exotic pet trades. Pacus can easily outgrow their tanks, and some owners simply release them in local waterways. Although this seems like the best thing to do, doing this only means you let out an invasive species that could destroy the local wildlife. The pacu that young Charlie caught might be one of the many that were meant to be kept as a pet and were released into the local waters, either deliberately or accidentally. Regardless of its origin, the fish caused quite a stir in the community. Charlie's mother, Jana, initially thought that her son was exaggerating his claims until she saw the fish's teeth. Needless to say, she wasn't amused by the creature's pearly whites. I know I wouldn't be either. Number 5. Wall monster. If you hear buzzing from your walls, you might want to have that checked because you might be experiencing the same problem as the Class family. The Class family resides in North Carolina, and one day their toddler began complaining about a monster living in her room. The young one, named Sailor, watched a cartoon movie prior to her complaints, which led her parents to think that their daughter was simply having a boost of imagination. It didn't take long until they realized how wrong they were. The noise behind the walls persisted, and bees began appearing around the house. It was then that Sailor's parents realized what was going on. After calling the help of a beekeeper named Curtis Collins, the Class family realized that behind their walls was a colony of a staggering 50,000 bees. Along with this swarm was around 100 pounds of honeycomb neatly tucked behind the wall of their home. The process of removing the bees was extensive, involving multiple extractions using a reverse vacuum to safely relocate the bees. Despite the ordeal, which included dealing with honeycomb floors and swarms of dead bees, the family appreciated the beekeeper's efforts. However, the service came with a steep price tag of a staggering $20,000. Number 4. Ballooning spiders. Scared of spiders? Then you must have suffered recently if you lived in some parts of California. After all, a strange phenomenon has been happening in some parts of the state. Clumps of spiders have been seen falling from the sky, a rare but already observed phenomenon known as ballooning. This natural process involves young spiders, or spiderlings, releasing silk strands that catch the wind, allowing them to travel to new locations. This year, ballooning has become particularly noticeable across Northern California, including areas like San Francisco, San Jose, and Monterey. Ballooning typically occurs when spider populations experience a boom, often due to favorable weather conditions. The recent heavy rains in California have led to an increase in plant growth, which in turn supports a higher number of insects and spiders. This boom, combined with warm temperatures, has resulted in a significant number of spiderlings taking to the skies. The spiders use their silk not just to ride the wind but also to harness natural electric currents in the atmosphere, allowing them to travel as high as 3 miles into the air and even across oceans. This method of dispersal helps the young spiders find new habitats without competing with their siblings. While this phenomenon is beneficial for spiders, people who are deathly afraid of them have a pretty hard time being outside. Number 3. Cherries. Recently, archaeologists at George Washington's Mount Vernon estate discovered another nostalgic remnant of the 1770s. 2 glass bottles containing 250-year-old cherries. These bottles, dating back to the mid-18th century, were found buried beneath a brick floor laid in the 1770s during a major revitalization project of the historic mansion. The discovery was made in a storage pit in the cellar of the mansion, a space likely used for preserving food and other items. The bottles were intact and still contained liquid along with cherry pits, stems, and whole cherries. When the bottles were opened, the contents still emitted a scent reminiscent of cherry blossoms, a characteristic aroma familiar to the region in spring. Researchers believe that cherries were harvested at Mount Vernon, possibly before the Revolutionary War, and stored for future use. The method of preservation, drying the cherries as much as possible before sealing them in a bottle and burying them, was a common practice in the 18th century to ensure fruits remained edible for longer periods. The bottles themselves were thought to have been manufactured in Europe, likely imported during Washington's time. Number 2. Board game meant to be played thousands of years from now. Recently, a game designer in the United States gained attention for developing a game that you can't play just yet. This game is titled A Game for Someone. The unique game is designed not just for the present but for a distant future civilization, possibly even after our current society has long faded into history. Jason Rohrer claimed he was inspired by ancient games like Mancala and the long-term vision of cathedral builders who never saw their work completed. And so, he created a game that neither he nor anyone alive today might ever get to play. He crafted a game board in pieces out of 30 pounds of titanium, one of the toughest materials on the planet. The board measures 18 inches by 18 inches, and the entire set is designed to withstand the test of time. To preserve the rules and ensure they're understandable by future finders, Rohrer meticulously wrote them on 3 pieces of archival acid-free paper, sealed them in a Pyrex glass tube, and placed them in a titanium cylinder. It was then buried somewhere in the Nevada desert, far from roads and populated areas. Not even Rohrer knows the exact location, as he walked away without looking back after burying it. He does, however, hold the GPS coordinates, which he has shared in a cryptic manner. At the 2013 Game Developers Conference, Rohrer presented his game concept without revealing its mechanics, ensuring its mystery would remain intact until its eventual discovery. He distributed envelopes containing 900 different sets of GPS coordinates to each attendee, totaling over 1 million possible locations. According to his calculations, if one person searches a location every day, the game could be unearthed in about 2,700 years. Now it's time for today's topic. What a camera captured in Ohio shocked the whole world. The state of Ohio is known for its ever-changing weather, the abundance of construction, and probably more. This photo, however, showed that there's something else lurking in the state, something more chilling. This photo captured what seemed like a giant arachnid or a man with long, slender limbs on all fours. It seemed to have a human head and a Santa hat. This led to conspiracies about cryptids lurking in Ohio, but for some, this photo shows a forgotten Halloween decoration, one that probably got disposed of in the middle of nowhere due to how eerie it is. Any locals out there that can tell what this is? Feel free to comment your theories below. Number 1. ParrotLike Dinosaur. Just recently, researchers discovered a parrot-like dinosaur that once roamed North America alongside the formidable Tyrannosaurus rex. This bizarre dinosaur is now named Urune infernalis. This newly discovered species belongs to a group of dinosaurs known as therizinosaurs, which were small, toothless, and beaked, much like modern birds, but much bigger and more intimidating. The specimen of this dinosaur was discovered in the Hell Creek Formation, a rich fossil site in western North America, known for its late Cretaceous period remains dating back around 66 million years. As we discover more fossils, we'll learn more about what type of environment North America had long before humans thrived in the region. I know we missed some places in the United States, so feel free to add other bizarre discoveries in the comments down below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.